Yes, let's start. The topic today is the pituitary gland. Let me take pituitary gland first. So we know that pituitary gland is having two portions, that adenohypophysis and neurohypophysis. The relationship between the adenohypophysis and neurohypophysis with the hypothalamus of the brain is the most productive area in examination point of view. So need to find out that particular relationship. First of all today, pituitary gland, adenohypophysis and neurohypophysis in relation with hypothalamus. We know that pituitary gland is connected to the hypothalamus. That hypothalamus, this is the hypothalamus. Just hypothetical diagrams are going for actually. Then pituitary gland connected to the hypothalamus, that with the help of infundibulum, that stalk or infundibulum. So that particular adenohypophysis, first of all, I am taking adenohypophysis. This is the adenohypophysis. What are the hormones of adenohypophysis? There are so many are present. I am taking first of all growth hormone. I'm taking the growth hormone first of all. So how does the growth hormone will be released from that particular adenohypophysis? This area is the application area. So the how does that particular adenohypophysis will it take their own decision, or they depend upon the hypothalamus? That we need to go through. So further, the capillarization we have to talk about that particular capillaries of the hypothalamus. They become vessel and they again in the form of capillaries of they are going to form the capillaries in the particular adenohypophysis of the anterior pituitary. So I don't think so. I need to write here. This is also called anterior pituitary. Okay. Let me write. Okay. So anterior pituitary. So let us see the sequence here. For the release of growth hormone, the neurons of the hypothalamus, that means axon terminals, are going to release a particular hormone. What is the hormone? GHRH, growth hormone releasing hormone. The growth hormone releasing hormone released from the hypothalamic that neurons are traveling like this. That are getting traveling like this. So they enter in the capillaries of hypothalamus, then the blood vessel, then they enters into the capillaries of the adenohypophysis, then they come and stimulate the anterior pituitary for the secretion of growth hormone. Okay, this is for the secretion of growth hormone. Next, if the growth hormone levels are increased in the blood, that levels of the increase in the blood, that information that goes to the hypothalamus, that we know hypothalamus is for the perception of chemicals. We have seen so many functions earlier: perception of chemical, temperature, reproduction, metabolism. Likewise we said, so that perception of chemical, that increased levels of calcium, that growth hormone in the blood is reached towards the hypothalamus. Then some more neurons, now they are going to secrete a particular hormone called GHIH. They secrete a hormone called growth hormone inhibiting hormone. This growth hormone inhibiting hormone travels through the capillaries of the hypothalamus, vessel, blood vessel, and capillaries of adenohypophysis. Through the capillaries, it will release into this particular anterior pituitary, and then they're going to stop the activity of the growth hormone. So the growth hormone stimulation done by growth hormone releasing hormone, inhibition of the growth hormone done by growth hormone inhibiting hormone. Both growth hormone releasing hormone, growth hormone inhibiting hormone, both are released from the hypothalamic neurons, capillaries of the hypothalamus, the blood vessel, and then enter into the particular anterior pituitary adenohypophysis. There they stimulate the growth hormone, or they may inhibit the growth hormone. This is the sequence. We go little wider here. Let me draw that once again. This is the hypothalamus, that capillarization we have to talk about. That these are the capillaries. So I'm not drawing more capillaries here to reduce the complexity. This blood vessel will come into the adenohypophysis. Again, The capillaries will come here. The capillaries adenohypophysis, I'm going to draw with blue. Then the capillarization again. So here the capillarization again happens. Now I'm taking one more example. That is thyroid stimulating hormone, TSH, actually released by adenohypophysis. Thyroid stimulating hormone, adenohypophysis, anterior period. What the thyroid stimulating hormone do? We know that stimulate the thyroid gland for the secretion of thyroxine hormone. Thyroid gland for the secretion of thyroxine hormone. Okay. So then we need to start the story from here. When the thyroxine levels are less in the blood, less than the requirement when thyroxine levels are present, then now we need to come through this. The hypothalamic neuron. The hypothalamic neurons are going to secrete a particular hormone called as TSH-RH. They are going to secrete a hormone called TSH-RH. The TSH-RH travels along the length of the capillaries of the hypothalamus. That let me write here, not to avoid the confusion. What is this? This is hypothalamus, that ventral part of the diencephalon that we know. We learned in the neural control and coordination. So this particular TSH-RH will enter into the capillaries of the hypothalamus to the vessel, blood vessel, and the capillaries of the adenohypophysis. They stimulate the secretion of TSH. That TSH will go and stimulate the secretion of thyroid gland for the formation of thyroxine. Imagine if the levels of this particular the thyroxine hormone increased, the levels of thyroxine hormone are getting increased. So where that information will go? That information will go to the brain. Brain means hypothalamus. So what they do? Then let's see what they do. That now they release another hormone. What is that? TSH-IH. That means TSH-IH, we can say. Okay, actually I got some technical problem that my iPad is lost its charging. Okay, let me go for this particular area and show here. So what the TSH-IH will do? The TSH-IH, TSH-RH is making TSH-RH is making the stimulation of thyroid gland for TSH-RH, TSH-IH. All these three are released from hypothalamus. Okay, so these are released from the hypothalamus. They are going to stimulate. Where they are going to stimulate? The stimulation to the anterior pituitary. This is a sequence type of question actually. That's why I'm going for capillaries of the hypothalamus to the anterior pituitary blood vessel, and capillaries of the particular and anterior pituitary, and the anterior pituitary is going to release a hormone called TSH, and this TSH is going to stimulate a particular gland said to be thyroid gland. So thyroid gland is going to secrete the hormone called thyroxine hormone. Thyroid gland secrete the hormone thyroxine hormone. So this is a total story. That means TSH-RH from the hypothalamus going to TSH-RH from the hypothalamus going to influence the anterior pituitary for the more secretion of TSH, and that stimulates the more secretion of thyroid, that makes the production of thyroxine. TSH-IH. So what it will do? TSH-IH is going to inhibit the hormone that released from the hypothalamus, goes to the anterior pituitary and inhibits the secretion, not to secrete that TSH. When TSH is less, thyroid gland will going to release the less amount of thyroxine. The last example we go, which we got in 2016 examination, GnRH, the growth hormone. So let me draw the same here. That particular anterior pituitary. This is the hypothalamus, and this is the anterior pituitary gland. So this particular anterior pituitary gland, you may know that is going to release the hormones like. So let me draw the capillaries first of all. So these are the capillaries of hypothalamus, and these particular capillaries form a blood vessel, and again capillarization will get got little bit misfired, isn't it? Okay, no problem. Okay, so these capillaries are going to be in the capillarization. This is called portal circulation, if you remember. Then now let's talk about that particular hormone. Who is that? T is the GnRH. This is the question actually we got in 2016, which created sensation in those days. It's very simple actually. By listening, I'm taking little bit time here. If you listen carefully, that after that no need to get any practice here. Just application areas I am touching. Okay, GnRH and GnIH. So what this GnRH and GnIH will do? GnRH from the particular the hypothalamic neurons, the same as usual. We need to say the same, but I am not writing anything yet. That directly I am going GnRH of the hypothalamic neurons are going to release from the hypothalamic neurons and travel along the length of the hypothalamus, and then they go and they stimulate the anterior pituitary for the release of hormone called GTH. Whom we call GTH? GTH means gonadotropic hormones. We say GTH means gonadotropin hormone. What are the gonadotropin hormone? That both FSH and LH can be called as gonadotropin hormones. Okay, so FSH and LH. So that the release of FSH and LH under the hands of GnRH of hypothalamus. Okay, so let me write, this is hypothalamus and this is the anterior pituitary. Pituitary. So the total sequence we need to frame this FSH and LH, where they have influence. The FSH and LH are having influence on, let's talk about the female, that they are having on influence on the ovary for the secretion of a hormone called FSH. I am talking particularly. So for the secretion of hormone called estrogen. LH, we know that is a luteinizing hormone. Luteinizing hormone makes the ovulation process, and that is having influence on progesterone. Means ovulation release the corpus luteum secrete progesterone, isn't it? You know. So that what is the question here? GnRH. This is the question actually. Growth gonadotropin releasing hormone influence these hormones. Gonadotropin hormones influence this hormone. So direct options you'll find here: estrogen and progesterone. Directly they are given estrogen and progesterone. How? How you need to understand? GnRH released from the hypothalamic neurons, capillaries of the hypothalamus, from there the blood vessel, and then entered into the anterior pituitary. From there, it stimulates the gonadotropin hormones. Then that makes the production of gonadotropin hormones like FSH and LH. They go to the respective body parts like ovary, that ovulation process, and makes the secretion of estrogen and progesterone. Okay. So that means it's an application question. So this is one type of questions here. You can add RH and IH for any hormone of the anterior pituitary. Directly you can add any hormone, anterior pituitary. And post that anterior pituitary, RH and IH. Simply the final declaration we are giving, the hypothalamic neurons are going to releasing hormones and inhibiting hormones, which are released from the hypothalamus, which are going to influence anterior pituitary. For example, anterior pituitary releasing ACTH. That means, so what kind of message will come from that hypothalamus? ACTH RH for secretion, ACTH IH for inhibition. That we say simply releasing hormones and inhibiting hormones. Okay, next. The second concept we are going here, that we need to understand the nature of the hormones. Hormones are of basically two types: fat soluble hormones and water soluble hormones. That how far it is related to this particular topic here? Because the hormones are called endocrine glands, ductless glands. So what is ductless? There is no duct here. But then who transport? The blood is going to transport these particular hormones. Endocrine. What is endocrine? Crine means secretion. Endocrine, secretion inside the gland. Then when it is secreted inside the gland, how will they go to the particular respective? It is like this. The secretion occurs inside the gland. The secretion itself occurs inside the gland. So that means who will take this particular? The blood capillaries are going to take this particular and they are traveling. As we have seen the traveling of the hormones also here. Okay, so then how do they travel? So we have two different concepts here. Just listen carefully. The fat soluble hormone, water soluble hormone. So when it takes the fat soluble hormone, so first of all, I am taking how they get transport through blood, how they are transporting this through the blood. Actually, there is no special representation in the text for this. That's why I said, listen carefully. Transport through blood. So how does the fat soluble hormones are transporting through blood? Fat soluble. They are fat soluble, isn't it? So that's why they can't dissolve in the plasma of blood. But then how? Then how they attach to the plasma proteins? They attach to the plasma proteins and they get travel over. They attach to the plasma protein. Okay, then how does the water soluble hormones are getting transported in this case? Water soluble. We said they are water soluble hormones. Okay, that means they dissolve easily. They're going to dissolve easily in the plasma. They dissolve in the plasma, in the water of plasma and getting transported over. Okay, being fat soluble, they can't dissolve in the water plasma of blood, and that's why they attach to the plasma proteins and they transport it to the certain body parts. Actually, that they transport everything everywhere, but they work only on the target organ. That is the property of hormones. Okay, so the second category here, second category in this particular case. Now let's talk about the second category. Then this particular area, what same about fat soluble and water soluble. How do they go into the cell? That matters. How do they enter into the cell? We know the cell is made up of plasma membrane. That what do you say? The fluid mosaic model explains that the plasma membrane is a lipoprotein material. Okay, so what we said about the hormone here, hormone move all over the body. It will work only on target organ. Then how does the hormone know that is a target organ? The target organ means hormones have receptors. Okay, so that particular hormone having the receptor only receive a certain hormone to for functioning. So imagine this is the hormone receptor which I am going to draw. So where does I draw that particular hormone receptor? In the cell. So there are two possibilities here, that hormone receptors may present in the cell and hormone receptors may present outside the cell. So that means after the transportation, earlier transportation is through blood. When it is transported through the blood, we said fat soluble can't dissolve in the water of plasma. That's why they attach to the plasma protein. And they dissolve that water soluble hormones are going to dissolve in the water of plasma. Now, through the blood, they reach to the tissues, at tissues. Now we are talking about at tissues. So at tissues, what happens? Let us see, at tissues. So when tissues, nothing but I drawn a cell for you, at tissues, what happens? So that particular hormones, we talk about the fat soluble hormone. When we talk about fat soluble hormone, they are fat soluble, isn't it? The plasma membrane is lipoprotein membrane. The major amount is going to be definitely the lipids, isn't it? So that's why the fat soluble hormones can enter into the cell. Okay, so if I ask you why the fat soluble hormones are having hormone receptor inside the cell, why they are having a hormone receptor inside the cell, if I ask, what is your answer? Because they are fat soluble hormones. They can dissolve easily in the cell membrane, they enter inside. Okay, next, talking about the water soluble hormones. If you take water soluble hormones, these are the water soluble hormones. They can't enter into the cell membrane. They can't. They don't have permeability. We know the selective permeability or semi permeability nature here. They cannot enter inside. That's why Where do they have the hormone receptor? The hormone receptor is present in the outside the cell membrane, outside the cell membrane. Okay, so these kind of issues. Okay, that little bit confusion will come here. So let me say again, the total information of the fat soluble hormone. They attach to the plasma proteins. They attach to the plasma proteins, and they transport through the blood. And when they reaches into the cells, that being a fat soluble, they can dissolve easily in the cell membrane, and their hormone receptors are present in the cell. Okay, then let's talk about the water soluble hormone. Yes, they dissolve in the water of plasma and they travel through the blood by in the dissolved condition. When they enter into the cell, as they cannot enter into the cell membrane being water soluble, then they have hormone receptors are present. Their hormone receptors are present outside the cell. Okay, so we need to watch the two particular videos for this and photograph. Then let me show that particular the text photograph for you. Then first of all, we'll watch that particular text photograph. Then after, we enter into the area. Okay, did you get this? No. This one, talking about this. Here you can see that two different issues here. That one, the first box is having hormone receptor present on above the cell membrane, isn't it? The hormone receptor present in the above the cell membrane. Then in the second case, in the second box, you can see the hormone receptor present inside the cell. So what makes the difference? Now what we said now, that those who are having hormone receptor present inside the cell, they are fat soluble hormones, which they can enter into the cell membrane. Those that are having hormone receptors on above the cell membrane is going to be that water soluble hormones which cannot enter into the cell. We are having an example here. Let's take an example like they said in our text hydrophilic hormone. Hydrophilic, hydrophobic. We have that idea on this particular. Hydrophilic means water soluble hormone. Epinephrine is taken example here. So just these particular points with the relation we have, enough good relation we have. Epinephrine attaches to the cell membrane receptor. This is the first point. Epinephrine attaches to the cell membrane receptor. What it is doing? The G protein of the cell membrane, the G protein of cell membrane binds to the GTP and activates that another one. This is the G protein, and the G protein binds the cell membrane, binds to the GTP and activate adenylate cyclase. Just need to read a point and need to see the diagram. This is very important for us. Activate adenylate cyclase, a membrane enzyme it is. On above the cell membrane itself it is present. That activated adenylate cyclase form the cyclic AMP from ATP. So this is the cyclic AMP to form the ATP. Okay. That the CAMP activates the protein kinase A. This is going to activate protein kinase A, which activates the enzyme phosphorylases. Just follow the arrow mark, phosphorylases. Then phosphorylases enzyme phosphorylate the glycogen into glucose 6-phosphate. And in turn it turns into glucose. What is the ultimate result exactly we want here? What is the ultimate result? We want glucose. That means who stimulate the formation of the glucose from the glycogen? Phosphorylases. Who activated the phosphorylases? Protein kinase A. So that protein kinase A is activated from cyclic AMP. That is activated from adenylate cyclase. Adenylate cyclase is activated from G protein. G protein is activated because of the hormone receptor complex which is present, which is formed above on the cell membrane. This is the total story. Okay. So this is about water soluble hormones, and these kind of reactions, one to the another, the multiplication of the reactions are going to happen. So that this multiplication is going to be, that means one action is going to be multiplied, that one receptor to the another receptor. So that's why we can say a property of hormone, that hormone though released in the small quantity, these particular hormones are going to, though released in the small quantity, their action is going to be much bigger. Okay. In the same way, the second box, we'll take the second box. We have it's a hydrophobic hormone. In that way, we have to say that is hydrophobic hormone having receptors and intracellular. Steroid hormones are fat soluble. So that's why we have a steroid hormone here that iodothyronine is given as an example here, that steroid hormone and iodothyronines are having these kind of example, can dissolve in the fat of cell membrane, lipoprotein of cell membrane, and hormone entered, hormone receptor complex is formed, and that complex entered into the through the nuclear pores and sitting on the DNA, that makes the transcription for the formation of mRNA, and translated, the action started, the certain protein whatever required, that is getting. So that you need to adapt to that particular diagrams itself. That this is another application area. We have a sequence question, and last year we have question even, isn't it? We have question even. So let's take some the animations of this particular area. Let's go with some animations. Let me open that area for animation. Mechanism of thyroxine action. First of all, see that.
Thyroxine is a water-insoluble hormone that is brought to the target cell via a protein carrier. Because it is lipophilic, thyroxine can easily pass through the cell membrane. Thyroxine contains 4 iodines and is often abbreviated T4, tetraiodothyronine. The thyroid gland also secretes smaller amounts of a similar molecule that has only 3 iodines, called triiodothyronine. Thyroxine is a water-insoluble hormone that is brought to the target cell via a protein carrier. Because it is lipophilic, thyroxine can easily pass through the cell membrane. Thyroxine contains 4 iodines and is often abbreviated T4, tetraiodothyronine. The thyroid gland also secretes smaller amounts of a similar molecule that has only 3 iodines, called triiodothyronine, T3. Both hormones enter target cells, but all the T4 that enters is converted into T3. Thus, only the T3 form of the hormone enters the nucleus and binds to nuclear receptor proteins. The hormone receptor protein complex, in turn, binds to the appropriate hormone response elements on DNA. The binding of the hormone receptor complex has a direct effect on the level of transcription at the site where it binds. The messenger RNA, mRNA, produced then codes for specific proteins.
Okay, so this is the particular action, and in the same way, we'll go with another video which explains this particular phenomena. Mechanism of hormonal action we are seeing now, isn't it? Let me go to the desktop on the screen. So chemical messenger cells.
When a signal molecule, such as epinephrine, binds to a cell surface receptor protein, it activates a G protein on the inside of the cell. The G protein then when a signal molecule, such as epinephrine, binds to a cell surface receptor protein, it activates a G protein on the inside of the cell. The G protein then stimulates adenylyl cyclase to produce large amounts of cyclic AMP within the cell. The cyclic AMP then binds to and activates a target protein such as alpha kinase, which adds phosphates to specific proteins in the cell. The effect of this phosphorylation depends on the identity of the cell and the proteins that are phosphorylated. Calcium ions also serve as second messengers. In response to a signal molecule from other cells, the cell surface receptor protein activates a G protein, which in turn activates the enzyme phospholipase C. This enzyme catalyzes the production of inositol triphosphate, which diffuses through the cytoplasm to the endoplasmic reticulum. The inositol triphosphate binds to and opens the calcium channels, allowing calcium ions to flow from the endoplasmic reticulum into the cytoplasm. The calcium ions trigger proteins sensitive to calcium to initiate a variety of activities.
Okay, this video explains about the NCERT text given diagram there, and we got question I think last year, that diagrammatic based question. And let's complete this particular today's topic with our hypothalamo hypophyseal tract. I took some time there that differentiate the both, that hypothalamo hypophyseal tract, that we need to go through them. That as we are seeing the releasing hormones and inhibiting hormones, and need to talk about that oxytocin and vasopressin and their story. Then the same again, this is the hypothalamus, and let me draw the adenohypophysis. Now we are talking about this particular area, neurohypophysis. The neurohypophysis. So neurons I have to draw here like this, that cyton, that means neuron means cyton. So that particular cyton is having their axons in the neurohypophysis. So that means hypothalamic neuron cytons are present in the hypothalamus, but their axons are present in neurohypophysis. So this is the neurohypophysis. We know the neurohypophysis is going to secrete two hormones. What are the two hormones of neurohypophysis? Oxytocin and vasopressin. Actually, they are secreted from neurohypophysin, secrete oxytocin and vasopressin. We say secrete, they can't produce actually. They're not producing these two hormones. Who produce the hormone? That hypothalamic neurons are going to produce the hormone. Okay, these hypothalamic neurons, whatever the hormone they are producing, these hypothalamic neurons, the hormone they are producing, how it travels? It travels through hypothalamo-hypophyseal tract. Did you remember that word, tract? Hypophyseal tract. Tract, whom we call tract? The bundle of axons is called as tract, isn't it? So this is hypothalamo-hypophyseal tract, means that is nothing but axon we are talking. So let me write, first of all, this is hypothalamus. So the hypothalamo-hypophyseal tract means that a particular axon which is present between the hypothalamus and this is the neurohypophysis. I don't think so. We need to write this. Okay, let me go over this. This is adenohypophysis. The story of adenohypophysis we are seeing now. Okay, so oxytocin and vasopressin secreted from hypothalamic neuron. These hypothalamic neurons secrete and that form the travel to the hypothalamo-hypophyseal tract, and through the tract that the particular hormones enters into the neurohypophysis. This is the story. Okay, so remember that two hormones, oxytocin and vasopressin. The neurohypophysis is just for storage. Okay, we'll continue with and we close the chemical control and coordination tomorrow. Just focused only the application area today. And I request all of you to read hormone function and gland hormone. Complete the two categories which were sent to you. And tomorrow we'll give the conclusion to the chemical control and coordination. Okay, thank you.